Hello everyone, this is your Torador's Extended Warranty and welcome to round 2. What do I mean by that? I apparently recorded this video and I don't have an editor, because of course I don't, and I don't typically edit videos on my own anyway because I'm not good at it. And it was around 30 minutes, so I'm going to try to cut that significantly down and hopefully I have this whole thing a little bit more situated. So, for those of you that don't know, several of our mediums of enjoyment have been under attack for a number of years now. We know this, we are aware of this, and oftentimes there is very little we can actually do about it, which is unfortunate, because I wish there was more that we can do. Wetting the throat. Now, what am I talking about today? Localizers. Now, for those of you that don't know what localizers are, their job in general, and what it is actually supposed to be, is something akin to that of making the translations of something more, I guess, I don't know, basically changing things to make them recognizable in a fashion that would be more understandable in your native language. So basically, the biggest meme of all time in regards to this is the whole Brock situation with Pokemon, where he's like, "Man, I love donuts. Jelly-filled are my favorite." Except he's holding a rice ball and very clearly not a donut. So that is probably the most famous example. And for a long time I thought, that's probably fine, making it so Western audiences can understand things. But then I got to thinking about it. And I thought about it for several years, honestly. And what I came down to understanding is that localization is kind of a form of plagiarism if you really think about it, because you're not getting an authentic experience of what you're supposed to be seeing, which means the people trying to capitalize off of changing an artistic work as if they themselves were the one that created it, honestly, are thieves, in my general opinion, because I do think that they are thieves. So, what brings me to this conversation today? Specifically, let's look at this to get a more apt analysis of what a localizer is. So, a translator would have written something similar to what you see on the left. Toru, what is that outfit? Lukoa, everyone was always saying something to me, so I tried toning down the exposure. How is it? Toru, you should try changing your body next. This implies a dynamic between these two characters that is very specific, meaning that Toru and Lukoa get along and they're playful with one another, but at the same time, this is Toru saying, "Jesus, lady, your sacks are a bit too big," and or something like that, or she makes several comments throughout the series about like Lukoa's body being kind of absurd, generally speaking, which gives you an idea of how the character dynamic works between these two. In the dub, you'll see, "What are you wearing that for?" It's like, "Oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my nerves, so I changed clothes." Toru, give it a week, they'll be begging you to change it back. Because men stupid, I guess. This entire thing basically tells you everything you need to know about localization, which is the fact that it is an invasive practice that exists for no other reason than to basically insert your own political or socio-political ideas into a work that is not your own, that you had no part in making. And unfortunately, it's very invasive. So, to the next slide. Oh, this is clearly not where this is supposed to go. Alright, peeps. We're going to fight with my slideshow because I am a terrible editor. Where are we? Ah, here we go. Apologies, this should have been a little bit easier, but I am still a novice with OBS and other varying software types. So, we shall read. I don't have words for how embarrassed and disappointing this is. Instead of paying a human to do a quality job, they're using AI to get a mediocre product for free. Is this how little they think of English-speaking audiences? Of translation? For shame. Now, what you might notice here is that she says translation. She's a localizer. She is not a translator. Which is important distinction, because if she was just translating stuff, she would probably continue to work on projects unimpeded. But she has been fired from a number of different things for a variety of different reasons. And to basically go on to explain why she's talking about this, you'll see the Ancient Magus Brides manga Return gets simultaneous English release using AI translation. Specifically, it says translation. Let's find the slide. There we go. Oh, I see what happened. Sorry about that. Apparently my folder for my pictures is all janky. Anyways, all of this is scuffed and I apologize. Except I don't, because I don't care. To clarify misinformation that has been spread, I would like to provide some additional information. Firstly, regarding AI-assisted translation, we have implemented a system for Montreux Corporation. This system combines their unique machine translation technology with the editing and proofreading by professional translators. So they're still using translators. Look at that. Next, about the purpose of simulcast distribution. Unfortunately, translations are sometimes released for free and circulated as pirated versions. Illegal manga piracy sites that publish these cause serious harm to the manga culture and industry both domestically and internationally. The Ancient Magus Bride has also continuously suffered from such damages. Initiatives, like the one we are undertaking now, have been proven effective in reducing piracy damage, as demonstrated by precedent cases with Shueisha Works. Now, I'm not going to continue with the bottom, but essentially that gives you the idea of what these people are dealing with specifically, which is mostly, generally, the fact that these people are trying to do their best to mitigate piracy. And in the manga industry, I can guarantee you it's pervasive, because free manga is literally everywhere online, and it's easy to find. Which leads me to a point that I would like to bring up at this point in the video, which is, if you like a manga after you read it online for free, and this is not condoning or not condoning piracy, I would like to say, hey, maybe, just maybe, you should buy the manga. Because it would be better for everyone, and specifically the creators of the manga, if you did buy the manga. Because the money will eventually find their way back to them in some way, shape, or form. Hell, if you don't plan on ever reading it again, find it online in the original Japanese and buy it off of a store online from a Japanese market. Make sure that your money is going to the creators of the series that you enjoy. Now, moving on. What did I have as the next picture? Is it in correct order? It is. Now, let's look at some of Katrina, the girl who I showed you at the beginning, of some of her greatest hits, shall we? Petition to ban the phrase blank from the collective Japanese consciousness. Don't know what that actual phrase is because it's in Japanese, but we'll do with what we can. And then We also have they let me do this in Horimiya without noting. And that's why you're a legend. And basically, I can't read what that lady with the green hair is saying, but I'm pretty sure it's really jank based off of what I can see from the text. And then you have, this is the one thing I hated about following manga in Young Jump. Every single issue has some hot babe in a bikini on the front, advertising her sexy photos inside. It's 90% manga, 10% gravure, targeted towards teens and young adults. It's so brazenly gross and sexist. No, Katerina, sex sells. And guess what? Most of the Jump stuff in general, typically speaking, is aimed at men. There is Jump magazines for women in Japan, but fundamentally speaking, it has nothing to do with sexism and everything to do with the fact that guys like boobs. I mean, women like boobs too, but that's beside the point. Anyways, this one, specifically on the far right-hand side. I know the translator, and they've done their homework on this series, reading further volumes, consulting with trans people, and working hard to make sure it's as accurate as possible. Shame on these people for listening to one rando and trashing it. Except that one rando happened to be an actual person who speaks Japanese, and said that this person is in fact not trans whatsoever, and is in fact just a boy who likes to cross-dress. Because they like cute things. I.e., they're gay. And even then, let's be fair here, not all crossdressers are gay. This one kind of just happens to be gay. This is a yaoi story. I mean, we should be happy with that, no? The people who are the neo-progressives who are, looking at this, they should be happy, yes? They're not. They would rather this person be trans, despite the fact that the author did not, in fact, want this character to be trans. Which leads me to, and I'm going to have to skip ahead, this. Seven Seas apologizes for intentional English mistranslation of I think I turned my childhood friend into a girl. Promises to revise script to be more accurate to reflect the author's original intent. Would you look at that? Except the problem is Katrina continues to get hired at all of these different companies because she's done localizer work before. So they use her continually as a localizer. But rather than letting this be a general enjoyable story about two boys who kind of like each other and are coming to terms with that, they would rather it be a story about a guy and a trans girl. I'm sorry, but is there something wrong with gay men? No? Are gay men not inclusive enough for you? Is that what I'm hearing? Are all crossdressers by default trans? Because I'm pretty sure that's insulting. No, of course not. You would never say something like that, right? Anyways, moving on, so I don't make this video as long as the last one, or I hope not. What do we have next? Yes, this. Katarina's Greatest Hits. I am, unfortunately, doing some of my finest localization work on the anime about a high school girl who legitimately sexually attracted to a corgi. I don't know why I went faux British there, but I did. I'm not sorry. I'm sorry I yeeted you, okay? Any other time, I know I'd be all up in her dress. Nekotani looks like she needs eye bleach. And here I thought you'd have RBF for the rest of your life. Now, here's the thing. I know all of those are definitely not accurate translations, but look at what she says at the bottom. I'm not sorry for what I did to Inukai. These, I believe, were the subs, which makes it very clear to me why I am extremely glad I didn't even watch this show. Because, honestly, this is xenophobic as hell, if I'm being 100% honest. Now, if you ever hear me say the term racism, bigot, or xenophobe, I'm using them in their actual definition, not whatever weird new age version definition that people have created nowadays that is very inaccurate as crap. I mean it in its authentic, how it was coined and used properly for years terms. And in my opinion, looking at this is xenophobic. This is I don't care what those dumb Japs have to say. I want to make this story about what I want, and I'm going to make the characters say what I want, and they're just going to have to like it. I actually wonder if her internal monologue had at any point in time said that stuff. You know, it's probable, but who knows? But it's one of those things where this isn't a Katrina problem specifically. And I'll show you my point. Here, which you can pause and try to read if you want to, and I know that this is super small and I apologize, but I have it pulled up on one of my screens, so I'll read you some of these. Definitely not all of them because it would take too much time, but you'll get the general idea. I think once I start getting on anime production committees, hopefully sometime soon, I've got a couple of things in the works. I'll do a lot of good work as a whole, wrestle away from sexists like you, and give it to the marginalized people who deserve it. So, the Japanese, right? No, we're not talking about the Japanese, the people who made the medium. Okay, yeah, no, you just mean people who are dark-skinned. Got it. You can say that, and this is a continuation, let me preface. You can say that, but you're not the one running two of the biggest English language anime sites, consulting at Crunchyroll, or making sure problematic figures are eliminated from the industry. I don't even like anime that much, and I have more power than you. Do you hear what they said? I don't even like anime that much. Wow, sounds like a person who really wants to make a story and translate the author's intentions over for that story so that an American audience or a Western audience can enjoy it, doesn't it? Yeah, no, not really. Then, alright, let's find another fun one here. Here's a threat, because they meant to say thread and didn't. Here's a threat on my thoughts on censorship in general, because I'm sure you really want to know. Buckle up, because it's gonna be a long one. If you're against censorship, as the word is used online, you probably need to be against capitalism in general. What? That's really, really stupid. No, being in favor of the only censorship most people, generally speaking, are in favor of is when it comes to actual illegal content. Like, I don't know, inappropriate photos of children or gore and only realistic depictions of, because that means that you are actually in possession of that type of material, generally speaking. Yeah, censorship in those regards makes sense. Censorship of a author's intentions? That's just messed up. And again, very xenophobic, bordering on racist. But what do I expect from these types of people? Continuing. It's not even discourse, it's peanut gallery stuff. Doesn't mean anything in the long term and won't change how business is done. I don't owe response or respect to those who have created fictionalized versions of me to argue against in advance. We're living in an era where anime is more mainstream, and accessible than it ever was, and some people have made it their online mission to convince people that it's a bad thing, that the creatives in the industry somehow deserve suspicion as default state. That's just plain sad. Now, if you want to continue reading any of these, feel free. You can pause again and read this, but specifically on this note, this person's name is Steiner. Interestingly, they have another post that is Andrew Steiner Hodgson, which is, let's see, here we go. Such disrespect for substance of the original text is saddening. This is in regards to the whole AI translation thing, mind you. Especially with the series as thoughtful as this one, corporate greed knows no bounds. Of course, it's funny to me also that the official tweet announcing this only mentions the AI part in Japanese. So the funny thing about this is this person's just salty that they're going to be losing their job, essentially. And I'm actually fine with this. Generally, because people like this are bad faith. They call this corporate greed when the people who put out the original tweet explained that they're doing this because they're having to deal with a lot of loss in profit due to piracy. And anime and manga piracy is amongst some of the worst in any industry, generally speaking. Almost as bad as the music industry. But you know what the difference is? The artists who make these manga and anime do not get the same amount of money that music labels and music artists get. They get shafted long term, a lot of the time. And they live very humble lives because they don't get paid as much as they should get paid. Is that a Japan problem? Yeah, kind of is. But also, we have to deal with that, and we have to have a way to support, creators, generally. Localizers are not how you support creators, because I don't care about Reddit memes in my anime. So, let's see, what else do we have here? Ah yes, this. Weebs realize the only reason they prefer subs is because it allows them to exoticize and fetishize a culture due to his... I'm pretty sure that's not even how you spell that. Anyways, and fetishize a culture due to historical superiority complexes in cinema that is deeply rooted and racism challenge level impossible. In my opinion, this entire statement is racist. And here's the reason why. Weebs, anime nerds, whatever. We want authentic translations because we want what the author had to offer. We would like to be able to enjoy the story as if we were able to read Japanese proper and read it and understand it as if it were us reading it in our native language. The point of Localizers was originally to get that point across, and we didn't. We instead ended up with people like this. And look, they blocked replies. Because of course they did. Because they knew that they'd literally be torched. But it just saddens me because people like this are xenophobic as hell. And they honestly do hate Japan. A lot of these people hate Japan. And that's a broad point that I want to bring up, that I brought up in the last video, and I've been trying not to harp on because I don't know how much overlap the last video and this one have with what I have and haven't covered. These people, generally speaking, don't like Japanese people. They don't even like Japan. They look at Japan and they're like, ah yes, the bastion of patriarchy, anti-gay, anti-trans, and worst country in the world, and they're all pedophiles, blah 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 blah. You don't live there. You don't know how their culture works, and you only have an outsider's version of, and surface level outsider's version of what you were told you should think Japanese culture is like. Which is honestly, in my opinion, xenophobic as hell, because that it matches the actual definition of what xenophobic is. And what's more, you're a racist for classifying an entire country under certain stereotypes, generally because of that surface level knowledge. And what's more, one of the things that I notice the most when it comes to anime is there are people like this and localizers who think it is their God-given right to change anything and everything in an anime and then treat themselves as if they are themselves the creators of that anime. These people are narcissists, they're racist, and they're actual, honest to goodness, xenophobes. And one of the things that it always bothers me in regards to these types of people is the reason that they do this is because they don't care. Japanese people are a cudgel for their political narrative, and that's all that they are. They hate Asians, generally speaking, while claiming they love Asians. And I don't know if I brought this up in this video, so if it's a point that I've already brought up, I apologize. But if this was a concept idea, where this was a far-right group of activists, and I'm talking super far-right, where they decided that they wanted to localize an animated medium from West Africa, and they were doing this exact same thing, the amount of rage that these people would have would reach levels of actual violence. Real world, real life violence. Doxing, harassment campaigns, deplatforming. These people would go out of their way to absolutely physically harm anyone doing what these localizers are doing if it was done to somebody with a darker skin pigment. Because in the West, for some godforsaken reason, your oppression is only primarily based on how dark you are. Because that's not totally racist in and of itself. Anyways, I'm not going to get political on this. Certainly don't want to try to, but unfortunately a lot of this has to do with social and regular politics, so this has been your Torador's Extended Warranty. I am glad that we got a chance to, look at all these people and whatnot. Oh, but before we go, I do want to go over this, because this one's still fun to me. Imagine preferring something with results that will definitely be wrong and bad over once in a blue moon seeing a line about women or a gay person or some other nonsense that makes you mad for simply existing. See, fun fact, the tweet that came out after the fact said that it wasn't going to be a mediocre result because it's going to have proof translators to make sure that everything comes out properly. Secondly, people are not mad that women exist. People are not mad that gay people exist. Are there some? Sure. Is it the bulk of the entirety of the anime community? Absolutely not. We don't care about women existing. We don't care about gay people existing. We don't care about trans people existing. None of it matters. We just want authenticity to a story. It's not that complicated. But anyways, this video is getting too long, and I just wanted to cover this last image. So, everybody, I hope you have a fantastic day, and if you are a racist, bigoted, xenophobic piece of dirt who thinks Japan is bad, I hope your Christmas is absolutely awful. For everyone else, have a fantastic day. Peace!